With the new Coming to America movie coming out, Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall and probably some of the other cast members are now doing press uh, tours, with the film, of course, virtually because, they can't do anything in person at the moment. And they just recently did an interview with Jimmy Kimmel. And something got revealed on that interview. And it involves the person that's on the right. Now, if you don't know who the person on the right is, that's Louie Anderson. He was a very popular comedian back like in the 80s and like early 90s. And he, had a small part in Coming to America where he worked at McDowell's. And he had a few lines here and there. I forgot how many scenes he had. He didn't have that many scenes, but he definitely had a slightly memorable role in the movie because he stood out as one of the few white characters in the film. I think in total, it was probably maybe 3 or 4 Caucasian actors in the movie, but his character had the most screen time. But what ended up getting revealed in that Jimmy Kimmel interview was that Arsenio Hall and Eddie Murphy were bought to the execs. Pretty much told them in from Paramount, because that was who released the movie, said that the only way that this movie will pretty much get greenlit or get released is if you put a white actor in the movie. Now, like I said, the movie already had a few other white actors in there, if you want to call them like, white actors, but I think they were considered to be white adjacent. They weren't white, if you get what I mean. So this is something that I've seen happen so many times in films. The most memorable one I can remember is with Don Cheadle in the Miles Davis movie that came out a couple years ago. And he basically came out and said that Miles Davis in his movie, which was called Miles Ahead, he had to cast a Caucasian actor in the movie to play Miles Davis's friend. Now, mind you, Miles Davis was a real person, and this fictional white character that was in there didn't even exist in Miles Davis's real life, but they just had to put a white character in there, for quote unquote diversity. Now, these are some of the same people that cry about diversity, but force black people to put white people in their film somewhere in some way. So Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall basically said, look, the execs came to us and said that we're not moving forward until you put a white actor or a white comedian in the movie. They said that the execs came to them and gave them a list of white comedians. And would you believe that list only had 3 white comedians for them to choose from? So it wasn't a lengthy list, which says to me it probably was a last minute thing. And out of the 3, Louie Anderson was the one that ended up getting chosen. So it's like, it's an insult because like they already had their movie together, only to say, okay, everything looks fine, but we need you to put a white actor in there. And I wonder how that made Louie Anderson feel, because it's almost like he got thrown into a film not because of his comedic talents, but because they needed a quota of white people in the movie to a majority black cast. And that's something that we often see a lot. Like when they have majority black cast, they have to throw a white actor or white character in there somewhere, somehow, some way. I know many people probably don't like this movie because, of Tiffany Haddish, but look at the movie Girls Trip. That was a predominantly black female cast, but they had to throw a white female in there somewhere. In Black Panther, with majority black cast, but you had a couple of white people in there. Well, I can understand why they did, because the Claw character, he's an actual MCU Marvel villain for Black Panther, but they also had Agent Ross in there. So they had their 2 white actors in a majority black cast. And I can go on and on and on and on down the line. It's like you can't have a completely black cast without them wanting to insert themselves somewhere in there. Now, if it was reversed and you had a majority white cast, one of 2 things is going to happen. Either you're not going to have a black person in there, or if you do, you're going to have the stereotype of a black person in there. They're going to be playing the person who's always trying to make people laugh. They're going to play the shucker and the jiver. They're going to play, the stereotype. They're not going to be like someone to be admired. See, this is the weird game that Hollywood plays, but it is at the end of the day their game, so it's their call. But I thought that was interesting that interesting revelation that came about But now learning that, it doesn't surprise me because, like I said, it happens often, too often if you ask me. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention, so you can be aware of how that came about. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. If you haven't done so already, text the number that is pinned down in the comments below so you can receive notifications every time I upload a new video.